just to check. Yep. Chest up. Season 3 of 2020 is a special one. Not only did we see some of the biggest releases in iRacing history just a week ago, it's also a leap season, so we get 13 weeks of racing. But for 14 drivers, this season will be their path to a dirt road pro license and entry to the 2020 iRacing Rallycross World Championship. Over the next 3 months, some of the world's best sim racing rallycross drivers will compete across 10 circuits from the Norwegian countryside to the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. Welcome along everyone then to Sonoma Raceway for the first round of the iRacing Series live on Apex Racing TV. Dane Baird here alongside Brian Delp in the commentary box for this event, and Mark Tranter is in the production booth controlling all the cameras and giving us this beautiful SDK gaming overlay that you're seeing on your screens. Well, Brian, welcome along then. And it's a pretty big week then for iRacing in Rallycross, or Rallycross and iRacing I should say. Because some of these drivers are going to be heading to the World Championship in just a few months.
Yeah, these qualifier series are always a lot of fun to watch because these guys are going all out for it, because you want to get that World Championship banner for you so that you're able to participate. And if you don't leave it all on the line here, then you're not going to have that opportunity. So these guys are going to be side by side, beating and banging the whole time, trying to get the best finish possible.
Absolutely. Well, we've just started qualifying a few moments ago. We've got 5 minutes of that. The drivers are going to get 3 laps. But to talk us through a lap just now, we're going to get a lap guide up for you as it's Olakainen making a bit of a mess of turn number 1 for Set Esports. And then we're going to get a track guide up in just a few moments for you. Okay then, starting a lap of Sonoma Rallycross, keeping left as we head towards the start finish line, then hard onto the brakes into turn number 1. We're going to head onto the dirt here, keeping to the right hand side. There's a bit of tarmac on the inside that will really help get the car rotated. Don't hit those cones, you'll definitely get a slowdown for doing that. Get up over the crest, down the secondary straight, and then we're going to head into turn number 2, long left hander, and then flick it right as we head up the hill in towards turn number 3, back onto the tarmac here. This is where they're going to be starting each of the races. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Past the kink now and get the car slowed down nice and early for this 90-degree right-hander for the final corner. Back onto the dirt, up and over the jump. And that is going to complete your lap of Sonoma. Well then, that was the track guide for Sonoma Raceway, and we're about 4 minutes into qualifying now, 1 minute left. Some of the drivers still not finished their laps, and I think in a few moments time we'll have the grid for you. And I'm just going to talk you through the format of the event in case you're not fully up to date with your iRacing Rallycross. We've got 2 heats, so odd drivers in qualifying, so that's 1st, 3rd, 5th, and so on. They're going to head into heat number 1. The top 4 from that heat are going to go into the feature race, where they're going to be able to score some points. Then we're going to have heat number 2, which is going to be the even drivers, so that's 2nd, 4th, 6th, and so on, including Jake Robertson, who you can see here in the VW Beetle, just doing some laps, and he's already finished all of his laps. And we're going to get the grid up for you for heat 1 in just a few moments' time. After the 2 heats, we've got a consolation race that's going to be 6 laps long, and everyone who didn't make it into the feature gets a last chance to do so. And the top 2 from those are going to head to the feature race. Everyone else we're going to say goodbye to, and then we're going to have a 10-lap feature. In each of these heats, we're going to have the drivers taking 1 Joker lap. So the Joker at Sonoma is a little bit shorter, expecting the delta to be between 2 and 3 seconds. And that's going to make some interesting strategies, even if it's just a 5-lap race around a 40-odd second circuit. We've got the grid up for you for heat number 1 then. We've got Lamastinvu in the number 3 car. He's taken pole position with 39.9. We've got Joni Ollikainen in 2nd, Tommi Mäkinen in 3rd, Rasmus Tuominen in 4th, Matt Hartley setting a decent time in 5th. He's about a second off the pace. Then we've got Fabien Paglia in 6th. He's in the number 11 car for Apex Racing Team, and 6 cars in the first heat. We're going to have 6 in the second. We've got 12 drivers in the top split for you tonight. And like I said just a few moments ago, top 14 will make it into the World Championship. So some of the guys in the second split will be poking their noses in there as well as they get gridded up. Then, Brian, what are you expecting out of this first few laps of this race?
Well, the biggest thing is going to be the start, because you got to get a really good start. And if not, you could have guys behind you running into you if you're on the front row. And if you're on the back, you do got to be patient, because while you want to jump up there and take those spots, if you guys just go careening into turn 1 and wreck each other, then it's going to hurt your chances of moving on to the feature. So a lot of this just comes down to patience, and it just depends on what guys are going to show that patience and which ones are just going to put it all out there turn 1.
In turn 1 at Sonoma, it's nice and wide on the entrance. I should say turn 4, because we start about halfway through the lap. And that's going to make sure that no one takes the Joker on the first lap. They will get a penalty for that. It's an awful penalty for them to get. Everyone on the grid then. 6 cars on the grid, 3 on the front row, 2 in the middle, and 1 at the back. The lights are on. And we go green in Sonoma for the first time. It's a poor start from Olakainen. He's dropping down the order. Looks like everyone's got through cleanly so far. Someone 3 wheels, a little bit of door banging just behind, but everyone makes it through turn 1 as they come around to the final corner over the jump. Let's see if everyone makes it through cleanly. That's one of the cleanest Rallycross starts I've ever seen. Still side by side for the lead as they come to start lap number 1. As it's Mäkinen on the outside there with Lemon Suvu on the front, but they make contact and Mäkinen's gone wide. Pally is up into 5th as they come up the hill for the first time.
That was a pretty clean lap, like you said, for a first start there, and we just saw a little bit of beating and banging, but these guys are such good drivers, they're able to hold on to it and give us a great show right now.
Well, it's a great start for the driver up in first position, Lemon Suvu. He's going to take the Joker for the first time. Mäkinen's going to join him. No, he's not. Olakainen's going to join him. And it's like Fabian Pallier also joined him. No, that was Matt Hartley who joined him in the Joker. You can see there in the Subaru. One of the only Subarus in the race, actually. You can see how much they're going to the right-hand side. He's knocked a couple of the cones there. Lemon Suvu does risk getting a slowdown for that, but you can gain just a little bit of time by getting those wheels up on the grass. It's, for some reason, more grippy than the dirt here on iRacing. It's just the way that they've modeled dirt. You can see which drivers have taken the Joker and which ones haven't with the little jester hat icon on the timing tower. That will update as soon as they head through the Joker and cross the start-finish line, which at Sonoma, thankfully, is straight away. So that will be pretty much up to date for you. No one takes the Joker on the second time round. I think everyone that doesn't take it the first time round is going to take it the last time round. And I think that's what we're going to see most of the day.
With the Joker, it seems like most of the time you either take it that first lap to kind of get some space when you're all clumped up like we saw them. So the top 3 be taking that Joker to get a little bit of space between them. Or you take it at the last lap to try to make up those positions at the last second.
Something to note is only the top 4 from this race are going through, and the drivers sitting in 4th, 5th and 6th haven't jokered. So the likes of Matt Hartley in the Subaru, you can see on your screens, just taking over the jump now. He's going to be in danger of not making the feature on the first chance. But it's really going to be interesting to see as we head into lap number 4. 2 laps to go in heat number 1. As Lemon Suvu is well and truly checked out of this one. So Matt Hartley doesn't look like he's got the best turn number 1s to come backwards up through the carousel, as we normally head down through there in NASCAR and IndyCar. But they head up the hill on the dirt, which makes it just an ever so more challenging, and Matt Hartley really seems to be struggling here with Mäkinen and Tuominen just behind him. Think, if I was Mäkinen, I'm jokering now, and he has. There he is in his VW, he's going to Joker, and you can see he gains a position there up into 3rd for him. And it looks like Pallier's also jokered in the VW just behind. Is he going to make a move on Tuominen? Thinks about it, goes to the inside, but the door was well and truly shut. And it looks like Tuominen's going to try and risk it up the inside of Matt Hartley. They make a bit of contact as they head through the carousel, and Hartley's dropped all the way down into 6th position. Oh, when he spun round, he's got on the grass, and that is really unfortunate for him. He's going to have to head to the Consolation.
Yeah, it seemed like Tuominen was just He was biting his time for a little bit, but eventually that runs thin when someone in front of you is running slower, because Hartley was running about a second slower each lap compared to what Tomanen was doing, so he needed to put that in there to have that chance.
Yeah, and it was a good strategy from the leaders to take that Joker on the first lap. That allowed them to take first and second. Lemensivu wins heat number 1. He takes pole position for the feature. Olakainen joins him in second. And then we're going to, hopefully I'll try and get the rest of the results on my screen in just a moment's time. There they are. Tommy Mäkinen finishes in third, and Rasmus Tomanen finishes in fourth. The top 4, all the Finns. That's a weird coincidence. It's not really a coincidence. The Finns do love their Rallycross, but the top 4 will head to the feature. The bottom 2 are going to head to the Consolation. That's Fabian Palio and Matt Hartley. Here's the grid then for heat number 2. Connor Parisi for Jim Beaver Esports starts on first. Danny Machani in second. Jake Robertson starts on third. That's the front row. Then we've got Bo Albert and Nicholas Pigner in the second row. And starting all the way at the back is Matt Boos in the number 10 car. He's going to have his work cut out for them. I know all of these guys in this heat personally, and I don't think they're going to make it very easy for him as we get ready to race. It seems like everyone was on the grid, and we will be ready to race in just a few moments time then. Just waiting for Connor Parisi. There he is. He pops onto the grid, and we're going to get ready to race as they come. Revs are rising. The lights are on. And we go green in Sonoma for the second time. It's a good start from Connor Parisi. Daniel Matrani gets a great first turn. Jake Robertson gets left around in the outside. Bo Albert slips through into third position. No one's going to joker the first time round. They got a penalty for that. They haven't crossed the start-finish line yet. But Jake Robertson down into fourth position. Bo Albert in that orange and blue Logitech G Altus Esports car. He's made himself up into fourth position. Who's that at the back? I think that was Nicholas Pigner in the Subaru up at the jump. I wonder what happened to him. That's promoted Booster up into fifth position. Here's Danny Matrani and Bo Albert going at it. Connor Parisi, meanwhile, all the way up in first position. Danny Matrani trying to go up the inside of turn number 2, side by side with Bo, as they come up towards turn number 4, back onto the tarmac. And Matrani's on the grass. That's not where he wants to be. Bit of contact made between himself and Jake Robertson. Who's going to joker on the first lap? No one does.
That's an interesting... Oh, and we see a car go sideways there over the jump. Oh, that's not a good start for that car.
That was Jake Robertson and the Apex Racing Team VW on the jump. We'll get a replay of what happened there. He was really close to the back of Danny Matrani, and he comes around the outside of him, and he looks like he maybe hit that curb really hard. He manages to avoid getting hit collected by Matt Booster, but he's dropped all the way down to 5th, and that's definitely not what he would want. He's actually dropped down to 6th, excuse me, as they come towards the end of lap 2. Connor Parisi absolutely miles ahead out in front. Danny Matrani in second, and there we have Booster up in third. So something's happened to Bo Albert, unless Booster's taken to the joker, which he hasn't. You can see on your screen. So something has happened to Bo Albert. Maybe he's got a bit stuck on the in the carousel. Maybe something's happened to him. He looks very slow as Jake Robertson makes a 2-for-1 move up the inside into the carousel, and he moves up into 4th position. Meanwhile, Nicholas Pigner and Bo Albert, they're stuck in 5th and 6th. Those are not transfer spots, so that's crucial for the feature.
They're going to want to get back up there, as we saw that great battle there for that last transfer spot, because if they let him get away, there goes all chance of them making it into the feature on out of this heat. So they can't let him get too far ahead, as we do see that I believe Robertson just took the joker.
As did Danny Matrani up in second. So Robertson and Matrani have taken the joker. Robertson up the inside of Booster there. That's a great move up in the inside of the carousel. That seems to be a nice overtaking spot for Jake Robertson. And right now it looks like he's might have just dug himself out of a hole that he found himself in, as their Booster down into 4th. Still hasn't taken the joker, neither of the two drivers behind him, so he's going to have to hold on to that position. Booster jokers, and I don't think anyone else did that lap. No, they didn't, so Connor Parisi still hasn't jokered, I believe, up in 1st position. You can see just in the background of that shot, but looks like the drivers are starting to spread out just a little bit, as Booster overtook Jake Robertson out the joker.
Yeah, and as we saw earlier with Robertson, that wreck. That's why a lot of guys take that Joker on that first lap. It's just because you put yourself in a position where you could get taken out when you're that close with every other car on the track. So that is why a lot of people take that Joker on that first lap. It's just to kind of get some separation to keep your car clean and get a good finish.
Absolutely. Well, that is Connor Parisi taking the win in heat number 1. He's going to start second. There's Danny Micciardi taking second. Matt Booster takes third. Jake Robertson just about held on for 4th position. Bo Albert finished in 5th. And that's definitely not what those two at the back would have wanted. Jake Robertson did a fantastic job to get himself out of that hole. Bo Albert and Nicholas Pigno will say bye to them for now. Actually, no, we won't. We're going straight into the Consolation. This is going to be 6 laps this time. And we're going to see Bo Albert and Nicholas Pigno. And it looks like Matt Hartley as well. And Fabian Pallier as well. So it's a 4-car grid for this one, and it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys handle this. So only the top 2 go through, so we're going to say goodbye to 2 drivers here. And the lights are on. Let's get ready to race for 6 laps of the Consolation. Who's going to get a good start? We go green in Sonoma for the Consolation race, and it's Bo Albert who got a decent start. Matt Hartley just behind is a bit of a punt from him. Looks like Bo Albert just managed to get away with that one. Pigner up the inside of Albert into the final corner, and he's made that move stick. Contact with himself, and Bo Albert goes all the way down to 4th position. As Pigner manages to take second. Hartley pressuring him now as he uses that handbrake to get the car rotated. Meanwhile, Pallier has checked out in 1st position. He has built himself a little bit of a gap, just over half a second. But these guys really need to start catching on to that, because you cannot afford to make a mistake like Matt Hartley's done. I'm not sure what happened to him there. He's got to slow down. That's what's happened to him. He's been a bit too greedy with the track limits on up through the carousel. It's so easy to do that here, as we've got the top 3 still battling for 2 spots in the feature. No one jokers on the first lap. I suspect Matt Hartley will. Yes, he does. Just to try and catch up just a little bit. There you can see in the background. He comes out as we start lap number 2.
Yeah, and he's not completely out of it. With there only being 4 cars here in the last chance qualifier, these guys are battling it out. It's very easy for one of them to get into each other and possibly take both of them out, which then brings Hartley right back into this thing as we see a slowdown here.
No, I don't think that was a slowdown. I think he's just made a horrible mistake. He's run a bit wide, touched the grass, and once you get on the grass with these cars, you lose all sorts of grip. And Matt Hartley's got ahead of him, so Pigner all the way down in 4th. He's going to probably take the Joker now. Yes, he does. You can see there on the background of this shot. Albert also got to slow down that lap, so that was fortunate for him. And Pallier seems to have got this one under control as he heads up through the carousel. Nicholas Pigner having to make up a lot of time, because although he's not too far behind them on track, both of the drivers in front of him still have the Joker.
Yeah, Pallier and Albert seem to have this thing under control as long as they can run clean laps. I don't really think they need to fight with each other as much. If they just stay nose to tail like this and just run clean laps, keep the car on track. They have those Jokers that will give them even more time on the guys behind. So these guys seem to have it in very well positioned as long as they don't make a mistake.
That's exactly right. And honestly, with these guys, they don't really have much to fight for at this point. They have maybe grid position for the feature, but they're going to be stuck in 9th and 10th, so it doesn't really make a huge amount of a difference there. As Pallier loses connection for a second. Hopefully that's not going to affect him too much in a later stage. Bo Albert gets all up on that curb. I think he might get a slowdown for that one. Yes, he has. You can see he slows right down. That's not too much of an issue because he still does have that Joker, but with just 2 laps to go, he cannot afford to be making too many of those mistakes. He's going to take the Joker now.
Yeah, and that's a very smart position because we saw Pigner getting right up behind him there. So taking the Joker there gives him more separation so that he doesn't have to worry about it as much. And saving it for the last lap is good, but in that position, you don't really necessarily need it when you're already sitting in that transfer spot and everyone else is Jokered.
Another thing to mention about this feature race is it's the only place you score points in the iRacing Rallycross Series. So the 2 drivers that don't make it, which seems to be Nicholas Pigner and Matt Hartley, as Pallier also jokered on that last lap as he comes around the final corner for the penultimate time. He's going to start the final lap as soon as he heads over that jump and under the big banner. But like I was saying, you only score points in the feature, so only the top 10 score points, which means there's guys in the second split, they are going to score more points than Pigner and Hartley, so it really sets them back quite a bit if they get into the top split and then they don't make it to the feature. So that's another thing that makes the feature so important in these races. It's not just gaining points, it's scoring points, period.
Yeah, and as we see them coming up through here, through this dirt section into the transfer onto the asphalt here, this is a very fun track. As a lot of guys have said, people seem to love this track just because it is very fast-paced and a lot of fun for beating and banging styles.
Absolutely, it's one of the more unique circuits on the IRX calendar, and Fabian Paglia takes a 9th position for the feature. Bo Albert will join him starting at 10th as he has a celebratory donuts. Matt Hartley and Nicholas Pigner, unfortunately, we're going to say goodbye to them from the Consolation, and we'll get the results from that just to confirm. Fabian Paglia does win the race. Bo Albert comes second for Logitech G Altus Esports. They're going to start at the back of the feature grid, which we'll get up on the screen in just a moment. But Nicholas Pigner and Matt Hartley, goodbye to them, unfortunately. And we'll have to see them next week. But let's get the grid up then for the feature race. We've got Lemon Seafood on pole position with Connor Parisi in second, Joni Olakainen in third, Danny Matrani in fourth, Tommy Mäkinen in fifth, Matt Booster up in sixth, Rasmus Tuominen in seventh, Jake Robertson in eighth, Fabian Paglia in ninth, and Bo Albert will start in 10th after securing his spot in the last chance qualifier. We're just waiting for Lemon Sivu on the grid, as we've got a full grid of 10 cars. This is the biggest grid we'll see all seasons, 10 cars in the feature races. The lights are on, we're ready to race here for the final time. And we go green at Sonoma for the final time for the feature. It's a pretty even start from everyone at the front. Who's going to make a move into turn number one? A little bit of contact between everyone else. Oh, and Connor Parisi almost into the wall. Gets slightly turned by Olakainen, and Danny Matrani gets punted as well. They're three wide as they come over the jump. That's never going to end well. Let's see who manages to come out of that one and survive. Matt Booster's all the way down in 10th. He's been sent out to the Joker as in all of that chaos. Let's try and see, make heads or tails of what's happened here. Lamazini manages to get away scot-free. He's up in first position. Then we've got Tuominen and Matrani in second and third. Olakainen in fourth, and Jake Robertson's turned around by Connor Parisi. Connor Parisi gets a slowdown as well. Bo Albert and Paglia are going to head up into 5th and 6th respectively. Mäkinen's going to take 7th. Parisi, Bruce and Robertson absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, there was just so much going on there because these guys have smaller grids for those heats. So when you're going into the feature and you have 10 cars on that grid and you're all nose to tail going over that jump, chaos is bound to happen. So coming off of that jump, we saw an issue with Busa, and then throughout the rest of the lap, we saw guys just hitting each other and spinning one another.
Absolutely, Paglia, I think he just got to slow down. He's managed to keep the position from Mäkinen. Here's Rasmus Tuominen, and looks like the two guys in front of him are both Jokers. So if he takes the Joker when he does in probably a few laps' time, Danny Matrani's got to slow down as well. He's going down the field. Albert's promoted up into 4th. Paglia's in 5th. Danny Matrani down into 6th. As Jake Robertson down in 10th. I think he's got quite a bit of damage to that car maybe. You can see him right at the back just taking the jump now. He's still got a Joker in hand, and you never know, with 7.5 laps to go, there could still be a chance for him to score some half-decent points. They do get 4 drop weeks though, so he'll probably have to use this as one of those. As we see, oh, and Connor Parisi takes that turtle curb way too hard. He almost flips over. He's going to get a slowdown for that one as well and probably damage this car as he drops down to 8th.
Yeah, some guys are just tapping that curb, others are avoiding it completely, and we saw why there. If you hit it too hard, the car just gets completely off the ground, you have no traction, and you're just going to go sliding out almost into the grass or into the grass. And so at that point, you're just losing time, so you don't want to risk that and risk possibly spinning the car out. So that's why some of these guys are just completely avoiding that curb altogether.
Yeah, a lot of people just trying to nick it just a little bit to try and get the car rotated. That is the definite tactic, because Danny Matrani misjudges turn 4. He's into the inside barrier, and that's going to give him a little bit of damage. Bo Albert moves up ahead, but he also has that Joker. So he's going to be ahead of the likes of Mäkinen once he takes it, which he does now. Pallier also takes it. Matrani takes to the jump. And we're going to see, and Matrani hits just the edge of the jump there, and that sent him into the wall. That won't give him too much damage, but it's definitely slowing him down. Albert up into 4th position. Tuominen, the only person in the top 8 who hasn't jokered. And he's running about 2 seconds behind Ollikainen, so he's set for a top 2 finish at this rate. But Mäkinen's trying to make a move on Albert up into turn number 4. He thinks about it, but has to back out.
Yeah, just being a little bit patient there. He doesn't want to turn him and possibly ruin his own race also. But I'm sure as this race goes on and we continue to click off laps, these guys are going to get in that mode of I'm not giving you anything, and we're going to see even more contact than we've seen at the beginning of this race.
Well, we're heading into the halfway point. 5 laps to go in the feature race for the first round of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Qualifiers. And it looks like Sivu's got this one in the bag. Ollikainen is currently sitting in 2nd position. Then we've got Tuominen in 3rd, Bo Albert in 4th, and we're now riding on board with the 5th place driver of Tommi Mäkinen, with Pallier just behind him in that Apex Racing Team Academy style livery, promoting Apex Racing Academy, which has been revived for this season, which is some really awesome news. As Tuominen still sitting in 3rd position, he hasn't jokered, so he's starting to fall back actually. He's about 3 seconds behind Ollikainen, which is not where he wants to be at all. Here's Ilari Lamansivu for, can't really tell which team that is. I've not seen that livery before, but definitely one of the faster drivers here. I think he's going to be one to watch for the rest of the season. That is Ollikainen for Set Esports. Tuominen still not taking that joker.
It seems like Ollikainen is a little bit faster in the second half of the track than Lamansivu, and that's just because in the first half, Lamansivu is just so much faster there, so he pulls away a little bit. But Ollikainen is actually making up time in this lap, so you're just wondering if he's going to be able to get there at this pace.
He's certainly closing in on Lamansivu, but only 2 laps to go and no joker advantage for him is definitely going to be very difficult. You can see in the background of the shot Tuominen, he still hasn't joker, but he's dropped back a massive amount, and he's going to save that for the last lap as we start lap 9 of 10. Here's a replay of an incident involving Bo Albert and Mäkinen maybe. Let's see what happens here. Bo Albert takes a very wide line through there, gets on the grass. That's not where you want to be. There's no grip out there, and there's a little bit of contact made, but they've done a very good job there of not making any further contact, and it looks like Bo Albert's got ahead.
Yeah, that was a nice job saving it, because he easily could have cut that wheel to the right, trying to bring it back on, as we see people often do, and just take them both out. So that's why these guys are the class that they are. They're just great drivers, and being able to control the car that much is amazing.
Meanwhile, we have a white flag, lap 10 of 10, as we head through turn number 1 with Lamansivu, but just behind him, Ollikainen is just behind with about 6/10 of a gap. He's closed that in from about 2 seconds just a few laps ago. I don't think, unless Lamansivu makes some sort of drastic error, I think he's got this one in the bag as they come around turn 3 and now into turn number 4. He's actually managed to close up that gap much more than I expected, but it looks like it's going to be Lamansivu for the moment as he takes to the jump. And Ilari Lamansivu in the number 3 car takes the win in the feature race for the first round of the iRacing Rallycross Series. Ollikainen finishes in 2nd. Rasmus Tuominen finishes in 3rd, taking that last lap. Joker, Albert and Mäkinen still side by side over the jump as they come round for the final time. And Albert takes 4th position. Mäkinen takes 5th. Pallier takes 6th. And we've got Danny Matrani in 7th. There's Connor Parisi down in 8th. That's not what he would have wanted. Jake Robertson down in 9th. He's definitely got better in him. And there's Matt Booster with an absolutely wrecked VW Beetle, taking the joker on the last lap, and he's going to finish down in 10th position. Unfortunate for those guys at the end. They really should be fighting at the top of the standings there, and we'll get the results up on the screen now for you. Ilari Lamansivu takes the win here at Sonoma, and we've got Joni Ollikainen in 2nd, Rasmus Tuominen in 3rd, Bo Albert for Logitech G Altus Esports in 4th, Tommy Mäkinen finishes in 5th. Fabian Bala finishes in 6th. Danny Matrani takes 7th for Positive Sim Racing. Jim Beaver Esports' Connor Parisi takes 8th. Jake Robertson takes 9th. And Matt Buser finishes down in 10th. Unfortunate for those guys at the bottom. And great news for the 3 fifth who take the podium. And we're going to see if we can get a couple drivers in for some interviews in just a few moments' time. But Brian, what an action-packed race.
Yeah, there was a lot of contact as we saw, and a shout out to Bo Albert coming through the Consolation race and finishing in the 4th position. That's an amazing finish. And so these guys were just constantly on each other, and we saw for some it didn't work out as much. Jake Robertson finishing down in 9th after his contact. But that's what Sonoma plays. When you can't take that jacker on the true lap 1, there's no real separation. So at that point, you're just trying to get back around to take it the second lap so that you can get some separation in between you and the other cars. So there's nothing that happens like what we saw. So these guys were pushing it hard, and we got to see some great action out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a very tricky part of the circuit that they have to start at Sonoma. The track is really nice and wide, as you can see into turn 1, but it narrows out really quickly as you head through it, and then into the final corner of the circuit, which is turn 2 on the first lap. You can see Connor Parisi getting turned right at the start there in the red and black Subaru on the left hand side. Does ever so well to keep that one out of the wall, to be quite honest. And there's a bit of a punt just up ahead that's going to happen, but you can see how wide the circuit is here and how narrow it becomes just before the jump. There's the incident we saw at the start of the race with Mäkinen. He ends up, I think, collecting someone else somewhere along the line as he comes over the jump. But yeah, all sorts of stuff happening at the start of the race. Lots of Beetles this season. Normally, this Rallycross series is a sea of Subarus, but we've seen quite a few Beetles in this one, and a Soul Fiesta, which is nice to see. The Fiesta doesn't get much love. We're still waiting for some drivers to join us for the interviews. I'm trying to get them in here. We've got a few minutes left of broadcast time, but I really enjoyed that one. That was a fairly good start to the season. It's unfortunate of the lap 1 incidents, but other than that, it was some pretty close racing in there.
Yeah, I think that's just classic Rallycross, though, as we see these guys want to get as much as they can to start, because as it goes, you are just falling back after that. So the more positions you can pick up at the start, the more you can defend later on if needed. It's because as the race goes on, it becomes harder and harder to make up those positions.
Yeah, we're just trying to get some interviewed drivers in there. There we go. We've got our race winner. Let's see if I can get him in here. I'm going to move him into the commentary box then, as my PC just decided not to let me. There we go. And we've got our race winner for the first round of the iRacing series. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so talk us through that race. You really checked out at the start, but then near the end, looks like you might have been put under some pressure from Mäkinen if there was a few laps left of it.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Talk us through that race. You sort of checked out at the start, but then the last couple of laps you were put under maybe a little bit of pressure. Maybe if there were a couple more laps, you might have seen some battles.
Yeah, I think so. I think even Jonne would have passed me like a few laps later, but yeah, I just try to trust to Subaru because in fresh track it's way faster than Beetle, but I just trusted that I can get far away from others at the beginning of the race, so then I can secure some nice position. So yeah, it was enough then.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that win. That's going to put you in good standing for the next couple of strength of field races. There are a couple more. There's one later on tonight, there's a couple tomorrow, and then there's one on Saturday. So this isn't the only chance for people to get some good points, but it's definitely the one that everyone wants to be in. Congratulations on winning the first broadcast race. Talk us through the heat race. You did pretty well in the heat as well. And also, just to mention the feature once again, I'm going to backtrack on myself. You had a pretty good pole position, which is obviously what you want in Rallycross. It's pretty hard to overtake here at Sonoma. But you managed to avoid all the incidents that happened behind you. Pretty much everyone was involved in some kind of incident behind you in the feature.
Yeah, I had pretty good luck with those incidents, so I I avoid them. And also in qualification, I actually practiced that pretty a lot now in these past 3 days, and actually it was a bit surprised when I came to the server that it was way more slippery than in other servers in these past 3 days, and also I think it came also a bit as surprise to others too. So maybe that's why there was a bit bigger gaps between everybody.
Yeah, I could see that some people were struggling for grip in the server. It might just be that it was a completely fresh track that some people might not have been used to from open practice sessions. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Thanks for the team, and also yeah, thanks for everybody.
Well, thank you very much then. Your race winner in the number 3 car from Finland, Elari Lamansivu. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week then.
Thank you.
Alright then, that was the race winner, and it looks like the only other person we've got for an interview is Jake Robertson. Let's get him up in here for a chat. Jake, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh mate, talk us through the feature then. What happened there?
Obviously I'm starting from the back. Just trying to keep it safe for the first lap or so, which obviously didn't happen. I came down the hill on the first lap and someone served the slowdown on the racing line, which I don't think was the best place to serve it, but it is what it is. I also got hit a little bit later on into the race, but just hoping to get a little bit more lucky in the next 3 softs we have this week.
Yeah, you've got a couple more chances to gain some points. This isn't going to be a big point scoring race for you. And next week then, the series is heading to, let me check my notes, you probably know where the series is heading to, Jake. Where is it heading to?
I think it's Atlanta Long.
Atlanta Long. What are your thoughts heading to next week?
I love the track, so it's got that donk slide, the iconic donk slide, obviously. I'm just hoping I don't get wrecked over there as well, but it's whatever. Atlanta is one of my favorite tracks. I think I will do well there.
I think it's everyone's favorite track in the iRacing community, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you do there, because I know you and I have done a couple of races there before, and you're lightning quick there. So good luck for that one. Good luck for the rest of the week, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, Jake Robertson for Apex Racing Team. Unfortunate race for him, but that is pretty much all there is to it for the first round of the iRacing series. Brian, do you have any final thoughts from that?
I think a lot of learning happened today as the series progresses. You guys got to be a little bit more patient, especially in that feature on the first lap. I think Sonoma did play a little bit into that, but if guys want to get those good finishes that everyone wants, I think the biggest thing is having that patience on that first lap, and just not making mistakes, because as we saw what happened, guys were serving slowdowns on the first lap, things like that, and it just caused so many issues throughout it. So I think if we can, as the series progresses, get those clean first laps from there, everything will settle itself out for guys.
Absolutely. Well, it was an action-packed first round to the iRacing World Championship Qualifiers week 1 from Sonoma Raceway, and that has been it. It's been a really great couple of races. I'm already looking forward to next week at Atlanta Long. That's a much more interesting circuit, I think, than Sonoma. It's got the iconic downside, as Jake Robertson pointed out just a few moments ago. I won't spoil too much for people who don't know much about it, but that's an iconic corner in iRacing Rallycross, and I'm looking forward to that one already. Well, thank you everyone for joining us along for the first week of the championship qualifiers, and Hopefully you join us next week at the same time, Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT for some Rallycross dirt racing. I've been Dane Baird, joined by Brian Delp and Mark Tranter as being in the production booth. From everyone here at Apex Racing TV, we thank you for watching and wish you a good night and happy racing.